Oral questions. The Honourable Member for Battersea, representing the Church Commissioners. The Right Honourable Member for Kenilworth and Southam, representing the Speaker's Committee on Electoral Commission. Dave Robertson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Number one, please.
Who's answering? Marsha, take over.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And with your permission, if I can group questions 1, 4, 5, 11 and 12. The listed places of worship grant scheme provides support to religious communities with listed buildings by refunding the cost of VAT on repairs. The Church Commissioners view the scheme as an effective way to deliver transformational benefits to local communities, enabling restoration, repair and improved access. I welcome the support shown for the scheme by honourable members across this House.
Robertson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The listed place of worship grant scheme is absolutely essential to renovations and improvements being made by St Michael's Greenhill Church in my constituency. Can she give any assurance to me and the constituents across Lichfield, Burntwood and the villages that this grant and government support will be available to support excellent projects like the creation of a new community hub?
Well, can I just congratulate the my honourable friend for raising this issue? And obviously, you know, it's so important that our local churches are supported, and ensuring churches like St Michael's in his constituency are able to deliver the repairs that they need so they can continue to be a benefit to their communities. The National Churches Trust recently found that for every £1 investment, £16 is returned to the local community in the form of events facilities, warm spaces, food banks and so much more. Now, he will not be surprised to know that I have raised this issue on the listed places scheme with my right honourable friend, the Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sports, and I really do hope that the government are listening and will want to continue with this vital and essential scheme.
Kirsteen Sullivan.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. The construction of St Michael's Church in Linlithgow began in 1424, and it's a significant centre of worship in the newly formed parish of Linlithgow and Avon Valley. As a Category A listed site, it's benefited greatly from the listed places of worship and grant scheme over the years. Can the Minister advise what engagement the Commissioners have had with representatives of churches in Scotland around the importance and effectiveness of the scheme?
Look, I know that, for example, St Michael's Church in Linlithgow, in my honourable friend's constituency, is a beautiful medieval church with strong community links and engagement. And whilst I am only accountable to the Church of England, I can reassure my honourable friend that the Church is working closely with its partners in Scotland as they too want clarity on the future of this vital scheme. And I would be happy to put my honourable friend in touch with the head of church buildings for the Church of Scotland if she so wishes.
Liz Twist.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. St Ives Church in my constituency in Ledgate is known as the Miners' Cathedral. The building's full of heritage, but costly maintenance issues are threatening its very survival. Now, the church has secured grants to fund temporary fixes, but a long-term solution is desperately needed. And they tell me that reclaiming the tax can make all the difference. So can I ask the Commissioner, can she reassure me that schemes like this can continue to help churches like St Ives?
Again, I thank my honourable friend for her question, and I know that St Ives Church is a cornerstone of that community, and also just to congratulate the congregation for the funding that they raised in terms of stabilising some of those churches' structures. Obviously, the grants from the Buildings for Missions Fund is available from the diocese and may help with some of the future work. However, we all know the importance of the listed places of worship scheme, and I will continue to raise this with the Secretary of State. But I do hope that the government are listening and they will come forward, as the scheme is due to end in March, and we certainly don't want that to happen.
Ruth Jones.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Over the last 2 years alone, Newport Cathedral has reclaimed over £87,000 under the Listed Places scheme. When they soon come to repair the tower at an estimated cost of £1.1 million, that will add a further £220,000 to this bill. And if this cannot be reclaimed, it will delay the project even further. The cathedral provides crucial support to schools, charities, refugees and the homeless. So does my honourable friend recognise the importance of the scheme in not only saving significant heritage treasures, but also in preserving these vital services?
Well, I thank my friend for her question, and I absolutely do recognise the importance of the scheme, but also its impact on some of those churches' social impact projects and the difference that it is making in her community. As I said to my colleague earlier, I would be very happy to put my honourable friend in touch with the Director of Property Strategy for the church in Wales, because obviously she can discuss this issue and obviously hopefully they can lobby together to ensure, I say once again, Mr Speaker, that this scheme is renewed.
Gregory Stafford.
Mr Speaker, the withdrawal of the listed places of worship scheme disproportionately affects rural churches. In my constituency of Farnham and Borden, 6 listed churches saved nearly £43,000 in the last financial year through the scheme. The rectors of St Andrew's Farnham and St Bartholomew's and St Christopher's in Hazelmere have raised concerns with me this week about the oversubscribed nature of other grant opportunities, such as the National Lottery Heritage Fund, which combines heritage restoration under the same scheme as, for example, coastal protection in the Humber Estuary. This dilutes vital church funds and the need for their heritage. Can the Honourable Lady inform me how churches can be supported to preserve heritage in my constituency if the VAT relief for repairs is not reinstated?
Well, I thank the Honourable Member for his question, and as he's obviously heard throughout this question time, that we are keen to ensure that this listed places of worship grant scheme does continue, because we can see the immense benefits it brings to our communities, but also in helping to alleviate some of the challenges around raising funds. It's important that all of our heritage buildings, and that includes our churches, are preserved, but also that there is the adequate funding available to them. I'd be very happy if the Honourable Member would like to meet with him to discuss this further.
Sir Desmond Sway.
Mr Speaker, the scheme was designed to address a perverse incentive in the VAT rules that favoured demolition and rebuild at a time when we were unable to change those rules. Post-Brexit, we can now do so. Will the Commission draw that to the attention of the Treasury bench?
Yes.
Sir Christopher Cho.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Will the Honourable Lady therefore support my private member's bill, which is coming up in March and is designed specifically to exclude from the VAT regime repairs to listed places of worship?
I will have a look at his bill. Thank you.
Jamie Stone.
Mr Speaker, I too want to refer to the land of Calvin Oatcakes and Sulphur, Scotland. In a village I used to live in my constituency, there is a lovely old Church Scotland church which has been bought by a former member of this place, and it's in really bad condition. It's upsetting the local people. Could I ask the Honourable Member if best practice could be shared north of the border with planning authorities and with heritage organisations? I'd be most grateful.
I thank the Honourable Member for his question, and I will certainly share his thoughts, but I'm happy to write to him further on where other spaces where he can obviously get more information about how he can support schemes in his own constituency. Thank you.
Joe Morrow.
Number 2, Mr Speaker.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and with your permission, I would like to group questions 2, 7 and 8. Now, the Macon report made clear the devastating abuse suffered by children and young people at the hands of John Smythe. I raised the need for the Macon review to be a defining and watershed moment for the church in a meeting that I had with representatives from the Archbishop's Council. Now, we know the review made 27 recommendations, some of which have already been implemented, and I'm awaiting a full and thorough update from the church on the detailed progress that is being made on each of those recommendations. This work is in addition to the ongoing efforts to respond to both the Wilkinson and Alexis J's inquiry into child sexual abuse. Following these reports, the Church began developing potential new safeguarding models, which will be decided at the General Synod in February.
Joe Morrow.
Thank my honourable friend for that response, and I want to pay tribute to my ecclesiastical co-worker, the Right Reverend Helen Ann Hartley, Bishop of Newcastle, for her leadership and courage in championing the voices of victims in the wake of the Macon Review. Newcastle is proud of her. Absolutely. Are the Church Commissioners aware of her ongoing concerns about the implementation of the review? And in particular, what can they do to ensure that dioceses have the resources necessary to implement a high standard of safeguarding, and also that the Church is focused on the interests of the victims and the vulnerable rather than the career interests of leading clergy?
Hear, hear.
Thank my honourable friend for her question, and she rightly raises the work that her own bishop has been doing in her constituency on this issue. Apologies, Mr. Speaker, did I do something wrong?
No, it's not you. Somebody came in front of me while I was looking to you.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was me. So look, following the making review, colleagues like my honourable friend and many that are represented here today and from across the House have rightly been raising their concerns about safeguarding in the Church. And this week, I met with representatives from the Archbishop Council, including the Bishop of Stepney, Joanne Grenfell, who is the lead bishop for safeguarding in the Church, to raise my concerns. And you can rest assured that they were made robustly. Now, the Church's National Safeguarding Team is now at stage 3 of its 4-stage process to assess and deal with the risk posed by those criticised in the making review. And again, that is rightly welcome. But additionally, the Church institutions have developed its 2 model proposals on safeguarding that will go to Synod in February. And those models, independent safeguarding models, will look at a scrutiny body as one, and then more of a safeguarding operations independent of the actual Church in itself. So I will be at the Synod in February, and I will be listening to that debate closely. But make no mistake, I've said this, the Church has an enormous amount of work to do to create a culture shift. That is what is required. They need to rebuild trust and they need to rebuild confidence. But also it's very important that everybody here feels as though they also get the opportunity to raise their concerns. So I want to thank my honourable friend and others for ensuring that they've raised this issue here today.
Sir Gavin Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and very much like to pay tribute to the Bishop of Newcastle as well. But what was so tragic is that there were so few senior voices being heard in the Anglican Church. And in the Macon Review, it did name the Bishop of Lincoln, it named the bishop in charge of the Episcopal Church, and actually so few people have been held to account. So will the Honourable Lady please make sure that more people are properly held to account, and actually some of the people who have been named are cleared out of those top jobs?
The Honourable Member makes a really critical point on this, and that's why it is so important for the Church to view this moment as the chance to really turn a corner and make this a watershed moment, because we need change and those responsible must be held to account. I'm very happy to discuss this further with the Honourable Member if it will be of help to him, but he can make no mistake that I strongly believe that it is important that the Church is held to account on that. The lead bishop, Bishop of Stepney, and also the Director for Safeguarding, both welcomed the Macon Review when it was first published last year, and we have to ensure that those recommendations are implemented.
Richard Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The urgent need for independent scrutiny of the Church's safeguarding procedures was highlighted both by the Macon report and by the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse. Can my honourable friend tell me what the current arrangements are for independent scrutiny of safeguarding following the dismissal of the Church's independent safeguarding board, and what the timescale is for a permanent system for independent scrutiny, and when that will be in place to safeguard against such appalling acts of abuse which was highlighted in both these reports?
Thank you. Independent scrutiny of the Church's safeguarding work is extremely and incredibly important. Now, the Church commissioned a series of audits on dioceses and cathedrals from the independent safeguarding experts, and several have been completed and they have been published. Now, the independently chaired National Safeguarding Panel, which includes victims and survivors among its members, currently scrutinises safeguarding. But as I've already pointed out earlier, proposals to strengthen scrutiny in the Church will be voted on at Synod next month, and the Church will then have to go on and create a plan for implementation. from these models once the right model has been approved at General Synod in February.
Rachel Blake.
Question 3, please, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I thank my honourable friend for her question? The Hyde Park estate has been managed by the Church Commissioners for over 150 years, and they are committed to its long-term stewardship. As responsible landlords, the Commissioners are committed to adopting best practice and have continuous investment programmes for the management of buildings of the estate to ensure that they remain fit for purpose now and both in the future.
Rachel Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For months now, I've been working with residents of the Quadrangle, of Water Gardens and of Connaught Village on the scale of their service charges. Can the member for Battersea join me in congratulating them on their hard work? They have managed to reduce their service charges by 10%. And does she agree with me that they shouldn't have had to work this hard? And will she join me in a meeting with the Church Commissioners to improve the transparency and their monitoring of service charge levels?
Of course, and I do congratulate them on the hard work. I know in my own constituency the challenges around the increases in service charges, and it's so important that they are transparent to everybody. And I'd be very happy to join my honourable friend in a meeting with her residents on this issue. But I would also recommend I maybe also include those from the Church Commissioners in the Property Services team. I hope that will be okay. Thank you.
Jim Shannon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the member for the Honourable Lady for her answer. Hyde Park Estate, of course, is an oasis of peace and tranquillity in the middle of concrete and buildings used daily by many. What steps will the Church take to ensure that there are sufficient amount of waste disposal and recycling bins across the Hyde Park Estate for those with 2 legs and indeed those with 4 legs? Thank you.
Well, I'm sure that they... Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure that those managing the estate and maintaining it are looking at all of these issues, but I'd be very happy to also write to my honourable gentleman with further information on that.
Right, Joe Powell.
Question number 6, please, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I will answer this question alongside question number 10. When establishing the political finance regime, Parliament's explicit intention was to ban foreign donations, but limitations of the current law mean that it is possible for money from foreign sources to enter the UK electoral system through donations from UK companies. For this reason, the Electoral Commission has called for the laws around company donations to be strengthened to ensure parties cannot accept money from companies that have not made enough in the UK to fund their donation or loan, to impose a duty to carry out enhanced Know Your Donor checks and improve transparency over donations made through unincorporated associations.
To
thank the right honourable member for his answer. In recent weeks, we've seen the unedifying spectacle of parties opposite trying to curry favour with one particular foreign billionaire. But this issue is much bigger than Elon Musk. Transparency International UK estimate £1 in 10 in our system, that's 115 million since 2021, comes from questionable sources or sources we don't know the origin of. So when will these proposals come forward so we can debate them in this House and tackle this threat to our democracy?
Sir Jeremy.
Well, as the honourable member will understand, proposals to change the law must come from the government, where I gently suggest he has more influence than I do. But he's right that transparency is crucial here, and it's important that we understand the source of these donations so that those political parties accepting them can be properly held to account.
Alistair Carmichael.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Surely, even in these febrile times, it shouldn't be difficult to build a consensus around the proposition that foreign money should not be coming into British politics. So, can we not just get the parties together now to agree the strongest possible package of reforms so that we don't have to react when it's too late?
Sir Jeremy.
Well, I'm grateful to the right honourable gentleman, and as I mentioned, there is a consensus in this House that foreign donations should not play a part in British politics. But there are gaps in the law, and as I've mentioned, the Commission believes those gaps can be properly closed by further legislation. It is speaking to the government about that, and I know that the Commission would be happy to discuss the matter further with the right honourable gentleman if he wishes.
Patricia Ferguson.
Number 9, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In 2020, the House of Bishops created the Archbishops Anti-Racism Task Force, followed by the Archbishops Commission for Racial Justice, to continue the work to tackle racial injustice in the Church and society. And in February 2024, the General Synod voted unanimously to continue efforts to address racial injustice across the Church.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for that answer. The Church's work to recognise the importance of diversity and proactive anti-racism work is very welcome, but I wonder if she could tell the House what steps the Church is taking to address its historic links to the slave trade.
Cordova.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, the Church's role in slavery is truly shameful, and it is only right that the Church has taken action to recognise its links to the transatlantic enslavement of Africans. And whilst no amount of money will ever be enough to repair the horrors of the slave trade, the Church Commissioners Project will set aside £100 million over 9 years for a programme of impact, investment, research and engagement. And it is hoped that this fund, Mr. Speaker, will continue to grow over time and reinvestment returns. Investments in grant funding will be directed towards creating a fairer for particular communities that have been impacted by the enslavement of Africans.
Right. We now